Hi everyone, I am here with a story. This is a true story from a guidepost book my sister in Christ lent me. It is called Where Miracles Happen. It's true stories of heavenly encounters. And this one is called Deliverance from the Depths. And this one, before the story begins, it starts with a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, which says, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing which you think you cannot do." And it sure takes courage to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. It was April when Don Spann and John Thomas pulled out of the Charleston, South Carolina harbor on Don's 46-foot boat, Perseverance, for a routine 2-day cruise to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. By the middle of the second day, however, clouds had rolled in, and the ocean was rough. John manned the helm, while Don sat in the back. Ironically, although Don stressed safety constantly to his employees at his company, Span America, he had left his life vest on the seat beside him. The boat dipped and bounced. Don had just gotten to his feet when it smacked against an especially high wave. Off balance, he cartwheeled over the side, hit the swim platform, and plunged into the ocean. Perseverance had already passed when Don surfaced. Frantically he whistled, waved his arms, and yelled, "John T., I'm here! Turn around!" The craft continued on, John T. facing forward and unaware of Don's fall. Don watched it for 5 or 6 more waves, listening to the motor a little longer. Then silence descended. It was the loneliest sound he'd ever heard. Surely John would discover his absence right away and return. Don spanned the horizon, remembering his Marine Corps training to fight panic, and waited. But 10 minutes passed and nothing happened. What was he going to do? The ocean temperature was low enough to cause hypothermia if he didn't keep moving. But how long could he tread water? And how would his movements cause a cramp, or worse, attract marlins or sharks? What if he drowned, or was mauled by fish, or washed ashore later? How would his family deal with such a trauma? He removed his shoes, attempting to use them as flotation aids, but they only became waterlogged, and he let them float away. His breathing was more labored now, and it was harder to float on either his stomach or his back. 20 minutes passed, 25. It had been a long time since Don had thought much about God, but now he prayed aloud. "God," he said as waves rolled over him, "you're using some drastic measures to get my attention. I'm sorry I haven't been smart enough to listen. But if you let me live, I'll fulfill your mission for me, whatever that might be." Then Don thought he heard a voice inside him. Was it God? No, this voice seemed seductive, even frightening. "Don," it whispered, "you're not going to get out of this situation. Why don't you relax and die peacefully?" That would be Satan. Don ignored the voice, but it came again, this time more insistent. "Give up. Give up." "No," Don answered aloud. "I'm going to fight." He had been in the water far too long, and he was colder and slower. He would go under soon for the last time. "Let go, Don," the insidious voice pushed at him once more. "It would be so easy." "I won't," Don said through clenched, chattering teeth. He knew he was being tempted in death just as in life, but almost unconsciously he clung to a security he had known long ago. "God, be with me now," he prayed. "I won't give up," he shouted to the nameless enemy, "even if I'm 10 feet under." His voice echoed across the waves. Somehow he knew that the voice had gone. He was alone again. It had been almost an hour now, and slowly Don began to sink. At times he would think he was above the waves, only to open his eyes and realize he was under. That's why at first he wasn't sure he heard the engine noise. Then, as if in a dream, he spotted something moving toward him. It was just a few inches long at first. A boat with a figure at the helm. John T. scanning the horizon with glasses. I heard him shout my name, and I knew that he had seen me, Don says. I think just for a moment I blacked out, but John T.'s shouts roused me. "Catch the line!" Exhausted, Don reached for the rope, wrapping it around his arm because he was too weak to grasp it in his hand. I remember being pulled through the water and getting tangled up, Don says. He couldn't make it. But then he felt strong hands gripping his right bicep and right forearm, holding him up. John T. Why had he gotten into the water? Who was manning the boat? And now there was a second set of hands on his other side, gripping his left bicep and forearm. The hands seemed to push him, propelling him through the last impossible distance. Where had John T. found an extra person to help? Somehow Don was under the swim ladder, and John T. was yelling at him, "Grab hold! Grab hold!" But Don couldn't. His exhausted, frozen muscles refused to work anymore. He would drown here after all. But then he felt firm hands underwater, placing his foot on the lowest rung. Firm palms pushed on his bottom. Suddenly I was standing straight up on the ladder, he says, and John T., who was 50 pounds lighter, flipped me around and dragged me in. A Coast Guard helicopter eventually plucked Don from the Perseverance and took him to Johnsonville University Hospital, where he stayed for 4 days, being treated for the results of hypothermia. Only later did Don recall the strange events surrounding his rescue. "John T.," he asked one day, "who else helped pull me into the boat?" John T. frowned. "What are you talking about?" "I know you were in the water with someone else because I felt 2 sets of hands holding me up," Don explained. "In fact, I couldn't climb the ladder and you both pushed me." John T. wore a strange expression. "I was never in the water, Don," he said. "I pulled you in from the swim platform, and I was alone." Today, Don is enjoying his retirement from Span America. "I'm not sure why I was spared from temptation and death," he says, "but I give thanks every day to John T. for his skill and courage, and to the heavenly hands that came in answer to my prayers." I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.